All right. So, Bill Cosby, this is still something that's in the news, and it seems to be getting worse and worse because every day it seems that there are more women coming out accusing him. I think now they're like up to 26 or something
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh, yes. Let
And
me just give.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go dive in.
I wanted to give like the listeners a little bit backstory because sometimes you think that people know how this whole thing started, and some people are picking it up midway.
That's true.
So there was a comedian called by the name of Hannibal Buress. I've never heard of him before, but I guess he's an upcoming comedian, and he had a couple of stand-up shows touring like little mini colleges and like little I guess bars and stuff like that. I think a lot of the people like the Chris Rocks and the likes know that he's a very funny guy. Never heard him before. Really don't know who he is. So he was in Philly back in October, and he was making a joke in terms of the fact that a couple of years ago, Bill Cosby had lectured the black community on kind of like pulling up your pants and like, the youth acting, accordingly because, they, instead of being like out on the streets with their pants hanging down and like going in and out of jail.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of an uproar because the black community was kind of, oh, you're hearing our dirty laundry, blah, blah, blah. So the comedian went on to say, it's funny that Bill Cosby is in the authority now to be telling black people to pull their pants up when he was back in the days. He needed to pull his pants up because he was raping girls back in the days.
Sounds like a good joke.
That was supposed to be like a off-cuff kind of joke because it was like, I guess those allegations were in Bill Cosby's times in the 70s and 80s. And I guess this comedian is a little older. And knew about it at the time, so I guess he kind of interjected into, I guess Bill Cosby being old now and kind of trying to be like the righteous person. And someone recorded it, and it just snowballed from there.
Yeah. See, my thing is this, and I don't want to ever discredit a woman who has been violated, and women have to support each other because if you don't, it'll lead to a situation where women are not going to want to come out because they're going to think that people aren't going to believe them, or they're going to be their image is going to be smeared, or they're going to be seen as a whore. They're going to be shamed. Yeah, I get all of that. However, I think that this 26 number works both for and against him because it sounds bad, but you mean to tell me out of 26 women, nobody ever said anything? I can get a couple of them. They were intimidated. They're paid off. But then there were some women on some news show last night, and they were saying that none of them, it was like 7 of them sitting there, none of them had been paid off. So if you hadn't been paid off, what was your reason for not saying anything all of this time? It just strikes me as very, very odd. And I think that, it's just a harsh allegation because once you say that about somebody, it's out there. It's in the atmosphere. People are always going to run with it, just like that comedian. I don't know if the comedian even thought it was true, but it's just something he'd heard, and he's like, let me just throw this out here. And, once you say it, you can't take it back. And I just think that his legacy is just so important to our people, and to have it smeared is just, it's a horrible thing. And I think we need a lot of investigation before we come to any conclusions.
In the age of such viral stuff, it's never going away.
Never.
And I don't know how that's going to the thing about it is they're saying that the statute of limitation has ran. It's not even.
It's run out.
It's gone at this point because it's 10 years. Yeah. And they said the 2 ladies that kind of went forward back. I think one is 50 now. One is like in her 70s, something like that. And one she was she works for an agency. She worked for an agency back in the days. And then the other one, I think, was an up-and-coming model or some sort of in the industry.
Of course she was.
She was led to believe that he would be one of the right person to kind of help her with her career.
Of course
she was. The thing about those 2 people is they said that they settled out of court. And what I'm hearing is when you settle, it doesn't always mean that you're guilty. It just means that you don't want to put your family and their family through the legal system, and
exactly. People settle all the time, even whether they're wrong or right, because it's just easier to make it go away.
Yeah. So the statute of limitation is kind of like drawn out. It's been, exhausted. It's been 10 years now, so it's not like they can have any proof, or they can retry him, or they can kind of, they can't arrest him or do anything now because it's been so long. Yeah. So it almost seems, and I get it. I don't like you said. I don't want to discredit people's experience. Maybe they feel like, well, I've covered this up for too long, so maybe this is my time to feel like to purge. But I don't see what they're going to get from saying that, unless I've heard recently that these people just want his career to be just over.
I've heard some people want him to turn in all of his awards, his Emmys
exactly.
and stuff.
They want his Emmy to be taken away from him, all this other stuff, which has nothing to do with his character, because he won those Emmy for his talent, for his TV shows, and for his writings, and for, so just because let's just say he did do those things, that has nothing to do with his, him being a good actor. It just
you got to separate. Even if he's guilty, you got to separate the man from the artist.
Yeah, so I don't.
We do that all the time.
He's gonna do what?
Well, see, my thing too is
he didn't get an Emmy for being a good person. He got an Emmy for being a good comedic actor.
Well, it's almost like the Woody Allen thing when he got that award, that Lifetime Achievement Award at the Oscars, and people up in arms because, he's a quote unquote maybe child molester. I don't know. He ended up marrying his stepdaughter, and people thought it wasn't right to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award, but the award was for his work. It really has nothing to do with who he is as a person. And, especially in this day and age of social media, we see a lot of great artists and entertainers who behave poorly behind the scenes, and we keep giving them chances over and over again. So obviously we subscribe to the school of thought that I can appreciate your art but not like you as a person. Case in point, Chris Brown. I think he's a marvelous entertainer. I think he's an asshole in his personal life, but it won't stop me from listening to his music.
Right.
But I just think with the whole rape thing, because rape is such a personal violation, that I feel like, what does it say about you that if you were raped, you'll take money as opposed to trying this man criminally? Because if somebody raped me, I'd want them in jail. That's that's how we rectify this situation. Right. You don't give me money. Money's not going to make me feel better about what happened.
Because I'm still going to feel terrible seeing you live and thrive.
Yeah. I'm not every time I turn on TV land, here you are smiling and shit with your 5 kids. That would not be good enough for me. So to me, it says something about you if you're willing to take money to sweep it under the rug. Because if you really felt violated, and then there was another chick who was on there talking about, well, the first time he put some shit in my drink and I woke up, he was taking it. Why is there a second time then? If you woke up with your panties off and he was touching you and you didn't like it and he's suspect, why is there a second time? Shit like that makes me look at you like, you know what, you're full of shit.
Right. I think also rape is so hard it's a fine line to prove, unless it's like all out, someone you don't know, someone dragged you in some sort of alley and kind of raped you, and then you know what I mean? In terms of familiar rape, which is most of the cases, is where people they know,
like date rape,
a lot of the times women are raped by people they know, so it's very hard to prove. It's the same thing as if I go on a date and I go back to a guy's house and then I change my mind. He could be an upstanding guy, but something may switch in his brain and be like, well, I did X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
He might feel like, well, no, you can't tell me no. So he might coerce me into having sex with him, or let's say he coerced me into having sex with him, and then I feel terrible about it the next day.
Yeah.
I can then go back and go, you know what, I wasn't really on board with it. So there's a fine line there.
It's such a fine line.
I can agree at the moment because I felt maybe threatened or scared or intimidated or whatever it is, and then the next day I can be like, you know what, that didn't really feel good. I'm going to report this person. And then he's thinking, well, while it was happening, you were fine. So it's kind of...
I think every grown woman has been coerced into having sex.
Right.
I mean, I think it is a fine line, but I think we've all been in a situation where you didn't feel like it. Either somebody you may have had lots of sex with, but that day you just didn't feel like it, or you weren't in the mood, or you were drunk, or you were sleepy, or whatever, and they come on, and then you end up doing it, and you might wake up being like, I really didn't want to do that, but is it rape? You know what I'm saying? Like, just like they say, a husband can rape his wife. Technically, he can, but that's such a gray area because of the relationship, and it's like you said, it's very, very hard to prove.
It's hard to prove because in each of the person's mind, they are seeing the things differently.
Yeah.
And who's to say? Like, I can't get in your mind and be like, well, no, why would you think that?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Unless, like I said, we're saying it's all out, like really aggression, where I'm kicking and screaming and telling you no, and you still like holding me down.
And some people consider that foreplay.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, there's people who, you know, you'll see like sometimes people have bruises in their in between their legs and all types of stuff, and that's from consensual sex. So you just, it's so hard to prove when you know that person. But I just feel like, you know, this man, you know, you know he's a married man. Why are you going with him to the Playboy mansion or wherever you guys are going? And why are you putting yourself in a situation? Not saying that because you go, he has a right to rape you, but it speaks to your character that you are getting in a situation with this person where this can transpire. I don't know. I don't feel good about it, and I'm reserving judgment until there's some concrete proof.
I am too. The sad thing about it is I don't think it's going to be proven in any kind of way. Yeah. So his career is just going to be, his image is going to be tarnished.
It is.
Based on a few dozen people that feel the need to kind of say, you know what, this is my time to whatever, to be out there, or it's my time. Even if I had a relationship with him and nothing really happened, but it didn't end well. Yeah. This is my time to say what I need to say. And it's sad that he's going, I mean, hopefully something will come for it, and then he can redeem himself or something, you know.
See, but I don't know that he will. If it was one woman, then maybe, because maybe that woman can come back and say, you know what, I made this up, or they can, you know what they always say, like in that,
there's a loophole, like there's a lie, or
or like they say in that show, the first episode of How to Get Away with Murder, you know, she's like, what's the first thing you do is you discredit your witness, you know. So if they were to peel her layers apart and say, well, this woman accused this guy of rape and she's done this and she's done that, then you'd be able to look at her and now she's not a credible witness anymore. But with 26 women, that's going to be pretty difficult to do. Some of them do have sketchy passes, but I'm sure some of them don't. Right. So it's, you know, but the sad thing too is that I understand why he's not saying anything. I mean, it could be legal reasons, but bigger than legal reasons, I think Bill Cosby's just the type of man that I'm not going to entertain this shit.
Yeah, dignify it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Why he's not saying anything. Like, I'm not even going to entertain this shit. Like, you know, I'm 70. How old is he? 70 something, 80 something. Yeah. Like, I feel like he's that type of man. Like, I'm not even going to respond to this shit.
But and his lawyers are asking him not to come. I mean, because what are you going to say?
Yeah, I didn't do it.
All he's going to say is, without giving any details to get into it, all he can say is, I didn't do it.
I mean, that would work, though. I take that.
Yeah, but people still want to know, well, why do you think that, you know, if I decide to sit down on an interview and say, you know what, I'm going to address these things and be like, well, I didn't do it. You know, the interviewer is going to go, well, what was your relationship with Kelly Burgos?
Well, see, I would say this. I would just say, I don't know that I would even sit down for an interview. I would just make a statement.
Like, yeah.
I didn't do it. And add a couple extra words if you want to, but that's all I need. I didn't do it.
Right.
You know,
that's true.
The fact that you don't have to sit down with anybody.
Right. These women are.
Or you can sit down with somebody who you trust and you feel like, I mean, you can sit down with an Oprah Winfrey or somebody who you feel will handle it tactfully and will respect your wishes and, you know, will get to ask the questions in a way that you don't feel like you're being interrogated or you're sitting on a stand. I don't know. I just think I think he needs to say something, but I understand why he doesn't.
Right. Yeah. At some point, he's going to have to be forced to make a statement because it's not going to go away.
Yeah, and I just think it's sad because I feel like it's not fair that they pulled the TV shows off because it's not fair to the rest of the cast. Those people didn't do anything wrong, and there's some of them who may be living off of those royalty checks, and now they don't. That's money out their pocket. You know, the show has nothing to do with him.
And also, they're pulling it without. Again, he's guilty.
There's no trial.
Yeah, they don't even know whether this is true or not. Whether but I think they're just trying to appease the women in the deal, and that's the thing about women. They seem to kind of get away with a lot of things because they're women.
Yeah, they're trying to cover their ass because if TV Land continues to run his show, what they're going to do is they're going to start, coming at TV Land. It's just like the thing with, what's that chick's name? Paula Deen, when she made those comments. And people started pulling her shit, and she's the Food Network or wherever she's on. And because it's not about so much what they think about it. It's like they don't want the backlash from the public. So it's like they want to distance themselves from the situation.
Right.
And I kind of understand it from a corporate point of view.
Because they don't want to say, well, we support.
Yeah.
Then you're still accusing him of something that you don't know whether he did it or not.
Exactly. But I guess they're looking at the big picture, like, you know what, we'll pull these couple of shows and just,
and we'll wait and see.
Maybe. But I don't know.
All right, well, next topic.
Well, speaking of the law, this is something, I don't know if you've heard about it, but this story just came out and I find it a little annoying. Did you hear about Mark Wahlberg?
No.
So Mark Wahlberg wants to be pardoned. He has a criminal record, apparently. You know, he used to be a bad boy back in the day. He was a rapper or whatever. Well, apparently he was a really bad boy because he, when he was 16 or 17, he punched some Vietnamese man in the head in the street, like some random, just violent shit that he did. Called him racial slurs. But he punched the man so hard that the man was partially blind or partially deaf. One of the two, as a result, to this day. So he got arrested. He did 45 days in jail, and now he has a record. He's a felony assault or whatever it is. And because of this, and now, you know, he's saying he's a different man, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, he owns some restaurants or something. But in certain states, he can't open restaurants because he's a felon. And he wants to become a reserve police officer or something. You can't do that because you're a felon. So
does he really?
Yeah. Wow. He says that he wants a pardon. So he wants this off of his record so that he can continue to do good things in this world because that's not who he is anymore and blah, 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 blah. Now, my opinion is you did it. You got to eat that. That's on your record. Like, if we take it off your record, let's take it off everybody else's record who's different now 20 years later. Like, there's a million people out here who are reformed. But you know, that's
certain jobs they still can't uphold.
Yeah, that's part of life. I've made certain mistakes and I can't recover from them, and it's always going to follow me just because. If you know, it's like if you go and you have unprotected sex one day when you're 15 and you get herpes, you have it for the rest of your life. Sucks, but that's just reality. And to me, this is no worse. And I feel like it wasn't even like you stole something. It wasn't even like it was a victimless crime. This man still can't see or still can't hear. And I should know the difference. I'm sorry that I don't know which one it is. I know it was one of those two senses. But whatever it is, this man is still suffering from this to this day and age. Today, in 2014. So
he's suffering the consequences of your actions.
Your actions. And you went on and you may have changed, but why should you get pardoned? Like, if you can't open a restaurant in California, I'm sorry. Oh, well. Yeah. My heart bleeds for you.
Words. You can make movies.
You know, like my heart bleeds for you because Mark Wahlberg, you can't open a restaurant. Like, you know, some things you just can't do it. That's just something you did wrong, and it's following you. But either we're gonna pardon everybody who's had a good record.
We're gonna change that law. I agree with you. I think unless we're gonna change that law, then you need to eat that. And this is just another thing that's just one thing you can't do. Do something else.
Yeah, you have options.
Yeah. I did not know about this. Now, how did this come up?
It just came out. I just heard it yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. It was on Wendy Williams. It was on The View.
Okay.
It's probably like on TMZ or something. But yeah, it just came out. He wants a pardon. Yeah. And I like Mark Wahlberg, but come on, son. Are you serious?
Yeah, I like him too, but it's just this is one thing that I can't get behind.
Nah.
It's just, it's just, and like I said, if it was something where he couldn't work and it was his livelihood and, you know, he needed to write some letter, then maybe, but you can do other things in your life, Mark. Yeah. This one thing, I know is probably one of the things that maybe is on your bucket list, but you might need to eat that one.
Yeah, I don't even know how you have the balls to ask that.
Well, you know, in this day and age, people, you know, their clout, their status, you'd be surprised. So why not ask? You never know. You might get it. Well, did they say anything about them considering it, or it was just one thing that was just out there?
Well, I don't know. I guess he'd have to be pardoned by the governor of Massachusetts because I think that's where he grew up in Boston or something.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. I mean, but the interesting thing that there were people on both sides of the fence. I mean, there was a couple people who agreed with what we just said, and then there were other people like, well, you know, he's done a lot for society, and he's changed, and, you know, this pardoning him will allow him to do further for society, and blah, blah, blah.
That sounds all well and good, but then again, you would have to look at other people in his state or just in general in every state that may want that opportunity to serve or do other things with their lives. You need to pardon them as well.
Yeah. I'm so tired of celebrities in this special treatment. I really am.
I'm all for it if they're going to change the law in general.
Yeah.
If your slate is going to be wiped clean after 10 years and based on what you're doing right now with your life, that's going to be a new stamp law, then great. He can be the first to overturn that, but everybody else should be able to follow suit under that as well.
Exactly.
If it's just for him, then no.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I thought it was a little absurd, but you know, I just figured I'd throw it out there.
Like you said, they're celebrities, so
Yeah, so the rules are always different. I'm going to stop here and we'll go into part 2.
Okay.
All right.